Well, we start the show with a look at the front pages on what is a huge story this morning out of America. Just having a look at the Sun, because they just say basically Trump's armada is on the way to Iran. And we'll talk about the numbers and the nature of the US forces in a few minutes. But here's the Mail. US poised to join Iran war. Trump sends jets and demands regime's unconditional surrender. I mean, that's the phrase we associate really with the collapse of Hitler after World War II. He knows where the Ayatollah is, the leader of Iran, but I won't kill him for now. So Ayatollah is the title given to Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and the pair have been posting messages about the conflict on social media, because, of course, everything is now on social media. I can show you Trump's. We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but he's safe there. We're not going to take him out. And he has to explain that means kill. At least not for now, but we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He then obviously thinks that maybe wasn't clear enough. So he just writes, unconditional surrender, capital letters, exclamation mark. Iran's leader, Khamenei, has also posted on social media, but he posts obviously in, I guess, Farsi. And he says, Iran will never compromise with Zionists. We will show no mercy. In a different post, he says the battle begins. So we would love your thoughts on what on earth is going on. Should Trump attack Iran and get it over with? What do you think, Angela?
Well, let's just remember the context of this, that before this happened, before Israel launched its preemptive attack on Iran, the IAEU had actually declared that Tehran had been in violation of their obligations.
The IAEU?
Yes.
The IAEA, is it? I don't know.
IAEU, the International Atomic Energy
Agency.
I think you
were going on the EU, but I understand.
Do you know what? It's
where Brexit has dealt us.
I don't know why I even bother with acronyms. I was going to use the whole thing, and then I thought, you know what? It's so boring. I'll just use the acronym.
Listen, I'm sorry, I'm distracting. But yes, they've got some nuclear stuff going on, but we don't know what.
No. They said quite clearly before Israel launched its attack on Iran that Tehran, Iran, was in violation of its obligations not to enrich uranium. And we know when uranium is enriched to a certain point, you have the recipe for a nuclear bomb. So before we even get
a long way off that, we know that as well.
But there had been a declared position on this.
Right.
We know that for years Iran has been building up this nuclear arsenal. They are the greatest sponsor of terrorism across the West. They are behind most of the egregious acts of terrorism that have happened around the world.
Not with nuclear weapons, though.
Not with nuclear weapons, but in terms of what their declared intent is. So it's almost like Israel is something of a distraction, because Israel is obviously, they faced an existential crisis because Iran has had a declared position to obliterate Israel. Okay,
and you think they'll actually do that? Do you actually think they will drop a bomb on Israel and the whole of the Middle East is covered in radiation? This is the fantasy land we live in, that Netanyahu and his cohorts and his genocidal regime lives in, that we actually think they will drop a bomb on Israel and the radiation around Israel, tiny country, ludicrous.
It's not a genocidal regime. You need to go back to your dictionary and look at the definition of genocide.
Let's just go back to Trump for a second. He was heard commenting on the situation with Iran while on Air Force One yesterday. Got to crane in to listen to this a bit.
Remember, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You don't have to go too deep into it. They just can't have a nuclear weapon.
Is there any new concern about U.S. troops or assets in the region at all today?
Great people, they know how to protect themselves.
And when you say better, what's
we'll come down so hard if they do anything to our people. We'll come down so hard, then the gloves are off so beautifully. Now, I think they know not to touch our troops.
So I think we covered the captions on that, so it's difficult to understand. But basically, he says, if they do anything to our people, we're going to come down so hard, the gloves will be off so beautifully.
Yes.
and they can't have a nuclear weapon, which is...
They can't. Please let me finish. Phil,
well,
for once.
You've had your go.
Yeah,
no, I didn't. Jeremy asked me a question and you interrupted before I got to the end of the sentence.
Yeah, but Phil needs to speak as well.
Okay.
Go on.
The point is that Iran is not just a threat to Israel, it's a threat to the West. And Israel has been doing the West's dirty work in taking on the Iranians, but they've reached a point of critical mass where help is needed. And what you say about, they're not really going to drop a bomb, they don't care. They have no value for the sanctity of human life. They don't
And
care.
Israel does?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Well,
Israel does.
You can sneer as much as you like.
Let Phil come back in. Phil, because in the end, this is about Trump. Israel has the intelligence to take out these Iranian commanders. It hasn't got certain key bits of weaponry that the Americans have.
I've read that as well. Yeah. And Jeremy, don't you think we know where this ends? Iraq, Afghanistan, weapons of mass destruction, exaggerated threats of weapons of mass. We go in, we create never-ending wars, which Trump was elected not to fight, and we end up with the economies in the West being affected, with terrorism on our streets, never-ending wars in the Middle East. We know where this ends. It's ludicrous. And the idea that we should be allowing America to take off from air bases in the UK, I would stop that straight away from Fairford. Why on earth are we supporting this warmongering, making the world more unstable, not less? We had a perfectly good treaty with Iran. It limited its uranium until Trump pulled out of it in 2016. Yep. This exaggerated threat. We've been there before. We know where it ends.
What about that, Angela? That's a good argument, isn't it? We don't like tyrants. We don't like Saddam Hussein. But we also don't like what happens when you get rid of them, which is that you get chaos. And Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan are chaotic. And chaos is more dangerous to us.
Look, there is an argument here about the nuclear capability in the hand of this jihadist extremist regime. The people of Iran have been, if you looked at the footage, are rising up. They want regime change. They don't want to...
And you agree do you agree that Iran is a horrible regime?
Well, yes, I'm sure it's a horrible regime.
They're living in this subjugated state.
Don't you think the only lesson Iran will get from this, and we're not going to have regime change. At the very worst, we create chaos. The only lesson they will learn is the lesson North Korea has learned: get a bomb. That's what they will do. Well, they haven't got a bomb already. They're going to get one now because nobody attacks North Korea.
All right, yes, go on.
They have a bomb.
Angela.
Okay.
You're playing into their hands.
I'm trying not to be emotional about this because I have very, very close loved ones to me living in Israel who are texting me. Who are literally texting me from bomb shelters. I've done it myself and I've been there running from sirens. Nobody wants to live like this. In terms of Gaza, give back the hostages, lay down your arms. It's finished. It'll be finished tomorrow. Iran, they have a possibility of stopping this. Why would Israel take on Iran at a time when they're fighting? They've got the Houthis firing missiles at them. They've got the war in Gaza. It doesn't make military sense to take it on.
Why did they go in on Friday and do that?
They went in because it had reached a point of critical mass.
But they were in the middle of talks.
They reached a point of
weapons of mass destruction.
You know what? And the fact is that I know Phil Jones must know an awful lot about military intelligence. I actually trust the IDF more in terms of the fact that they would. Well, no, that's your choice.
Preemptive conflict is always difficult to judge whether you're the IDF or not. You do not know what you're preempting by definition because it hasn't happened.
But if you have intense intelligence on the ground, they had people look at what happened with the pagers. I mean, it was a brilliant thing that was 10 years in the making when they fired.
This is the same IDF that's killing men, women, and children who are going to collect food in Gaza.
Let's take one call.